Okay, good morning, folks. This is the Colorado Oil and Gas Commission work session for Friday, July 23rd. It is 10:02. We are live. We have 5 out of 7 commissioners with us at this point, which is a quorum. We're pretty relaxed on these Friday days. We don't have an agenda. We don't take public comment. It's just a quick opportunity for commissioners to chat amongst themselves about issues. We don't take formal action. So having sort of framed that for this morning, I see Julie's with us. We also go by first names on Fridays. So good morning, Julie. Good to see you. I think Karen is going to try to attend telephonically in a bit, so we will welcome her when she arrives. We've got 8 people who are interested in listening to us this morning. Good morning to the 8 of you. Again, we don't have any real calendared business. I did have one item that I wanted to potentially share, which is a hearings protocol or hearings thoughts going forward. We are, sort of trying to determine that. That's my approach of like what COVID is. It's like up and down, and
I thought you were talking about the waves in your background.
That's the Delta. That's the. But I've been thinking about moving forward into the fall and hearings, and put together a quick Word document that I shared with Kyle and Mimi this morning, and Mimi is going to be so gracious as to share her screen. Basically, it is a thought process that we are very successful with our meetings via Zoom and this online format, and that we should likely continue that. Here's sort of the statement that I put together, and Mimi and Kyle had some gracious edits, and now it's not in red line and we can all see it. But basically, in general, so this is my thought, and I throw it out to the rest of the commissioners and Julie to think about. But I think in general, COGCC meetings will continue to take place online, virtually via Zoom or other online format with remote public participation. Again, I think we're very successful with this format. COGCC will periodically review its upcoming calendar to determine whether to hold a hybrid hearing in which commissioners and commission hearings staff appear in person. That is to accommodate the fact that we do want to try to get together for actual meetings when it's safe and okay to do so. If a hearing is a hybrid hearing, for members of the public, parties, and stakeholders, the hearing will continue to be available online with remote public participation. If the hearing is a hybrid hearing on an enforcement matter, the operator and COGCC enforcement staff will not appear live and will appear via Zoom or other online format with public remote participation. COGCC will maintain virtual or Zoom attendance to ensure impartiality and fairness to all parties. Rulemaking hearings will be either virtual via Zoom or hybrid hearing in which only commissioners and commission hearing staff appear in person. So sort of the theme is, let's stay online because it's working very well. I think a lot of our stakeholders are able to participate more on the online virtual than if they were to have to drive to Denver, find parking, and show up at our meeting. Number 2, it recognizes that we're still in a pandemic situation, even though it hopefully is going to get better. Number 3, it allows us in our discretion to call for a hybrid hearing in which we and our hearings staff appear in our hearings room. We recently have had staff create an ability for that hearings room to have us all safely in the room behind plexiglass with a new audio-visual format that would be workable. But 4th, it also, in my mind, for parties that are appearing before us, in particular in enforcement matters, it would make sense that we not like have a party show up and then have another party not show up. I want to create impartiality. I want to create transparency. And so I think it's helpful to have our hearings staff, so Mimi and Angelica and et cetera. But if it's an enforcement matter and we've got an enforcement officer or hearings officer on the one side and our staff, and then the operator on the other, I would think all of them should continue to appear virtually. And I think they can do that in a good format. So I don't know, I throw this out, just quick draft for your consideration and thought this morning or later if you can't see it. Karen, I know you're attending via phone, so you may not be able to read this very well. But it's just kind of a going forward, here's what we're thinking in terms of our hearings. So toss that out for you guys as consideration.
I think it's a good idea. I do think that there's a lot of efficiency and transparency with the Zoom format, the online format. I think that the level of public participation has been strong from around the state. I think it enables, particularly as we go into review of oil and gas development plans or comprehensive area plans or other things, it does allow the public to participate more readily, I believe. And so I'm an advocate of your proposal.
Same here, Jeff. I think that the Zoom format is just a ton of accessibility for everybody. We've been doing it well for a year now, and I'm happy to continue it.
Third for me. Agree on all points.
Then maybe what we can do, and I'll touch base with Karen offline to make sure she's comfortable with the verbiage, but maybe
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you, Karen. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I agree. Thanks.
Karen, you're a little garbled, unfortunately. Do you want to try that again?
Oh,
Okay.
I would hear me.
Yes.
I was just saying I agree with the conversation and the concepts, and I think that Zoom has been for us, except for me trying.
Okay, that sounds good. So what I'll do is, and Sean, did you want to weigh in?
Sure, Jeff. I just wanted to add real quick, I support this, of course, too, and I think it's pretty consistent with what the Air Commission is planning on doing. They also aren't getting too prescriptive and saying specifically which dates they'll be back in the in-person setting yet. But once this verbiage is finalized, I'll make sure to share that with my colleagues at CDPHE and make sure they're aware of what COGCC's plans are. And I did have one question actually from Air Commission staff, just maybe you don't know the answers to this yet, but do you know when you return to those in-person meetings, will individual commissioners have their laptops on and their cameras pointed at their faces and then also a big camera in the room that captures everything? Is that kind of the setup? I'm
going to defer to Mimi to answer that question because I know she's been working with Scott Cuthbertson about the AV within the Wasatch hearing room.
Yeah, thank you. We do have a system that integrates Zoom and the cameras that are actually in the Wasatch hearing room. So the setup allows each commissioner to be at their designated seat, to log into the Zoom meeting, to have that camera on their laptop, transmit, their face out to everyone in Zoom. And concurrent with that will be the cameras that are actually in the room. And those cameras will be also a Zoom participant. So members of the public and operators, staff who are appearing before the commission will be able to see everyone as we're seeing you now. And then they'll also be able to see a shot of the room live.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation.
Great. Yeah, so Sean, thanks again for weighing in from CDPHE's perspective, and I think it's good that we're all sort of thinking along the same lines. So what I'll do is we'll finish up the language and I'll introduce it at our Wednesday meeting when all of our public is generally with us, and that can become kind of our statement in terms of meetings, and then we can put it on the website just so that we're transparent and everybody knows what we're thinking about. So I did not have a ton more for this morning's talk amongst ourselves. Did other commissioners have things to weigh in on?
Jeff, this is Karen. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Great. Mimi and I met, I think it was earlier this week, just to talk about some things that I was working through, in particular when I was trying to catch up on the hearing from last week and watch it. And I think, Mimi, you can join in if you want and help me out here, but I think we're going to try to provide in our agendas a link to all the YouTube videos where we tape the commission hearings so that it's easier for folks to find on our commission site. And then in addition, I think we're going to really try to make sure that the agenda for each week is prepared by Thursday the week before, so that folks have plenty of time to know what's going to be on the agenda and read any accompanying agenda items, which I'm hoping will be more user-friendly for not just us, but people who are participating in our meetings.
Yes, exactly what Karen said, and we should be having the YouTube links on the agenda starting for the meeting in the first week of August, which I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I think is August 4th. So that YouTube link will start running on that, and we will have those posted so folks can more easily find the YouTube channel and go back and look at prior hearings.
Good.
I've got a quick update and just want to run a few things by you. A few weeks back, we had talked about potentially wanting to do a water use, reuse, beneficial use, informational, kind of continuing education meeting session. And so I've been following up on that a bit and started to put some pieces together. I wanted to run some of those pieces by you to make sure I'm on the right track as far as what folks may want to hear about. And so just a brief overview of some of the contacts I've made and some of the conversations I've had, and they're not done yet. I have some more calls even today to follow up with some folks to try to continue to put some pieces together. But I reached out to Nicole Saunders at EDF, who has done a significant amount of research around produced water, possible beneficial uses of produced water, reuse of produced water, and then research gaps around the quality of produced water that needs to be treated in order to be able to utilize it in a beneficial way. And so she's willing to present some information and some findings that they've done as an organization. She also recommended I talk to Shelley Chard, who's the director of the Water Quality Division for the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. And she did, a 350-page report around produced water, regulatory practices, current practices, research needs. And so I've chatted with her, and it sounds like she may be a really valuable research, not just for Oklahoma. She did it regionally through a number of different oil and gas producing basins, including Colorado. And then Russell Sands, who's the section chief for water supply planning, and Tracy Kozloff, deputy state engineer, and Scott Cuthbertson, kind of a state of Colorado perspective on water use and potentials for reuse and produced water and regulatory practices, so on and so forth. I also chatted with James Rosenblum, who's a research professor with the School of Mines. They've got a water resource research lab that is exploring lots of different technologies around treating produced water for reuse or potentially beneficial use. And I toured that facility, and it was pretty impressive, the work that they're doing over there. He could be a valuable research. And then I also have a call set up this afternoon with Rich Coolidge from COGA to try to get some ideas of who may be good to present from industry as far as current practices, successes, and then maybe some emerging technologies that are coming out of industry. And so that's kind of what I've got set up right now. I guess I want to hear from you all if I'm on the right track, if I'm not on the right track, if there's other suggestions you may have. And again, this is a continuing education piece. It's really just to give us more knowledge, more understanding of the topic, and just to make us smarter, I think.
John, I think it sounds good. I think the one thing I don't know if I missed is, is there going to be also some presentation or discussion on kind of like relative water use for other industries in the state?
Yeah, that's definitely information that would be provided by the state of Colorado in some of their presentations.
Great, thanks.
Sounds great.
Okay,
Sounds really good, John.
Thanks. So I'll keep going down this road, and right now, tentatively, we're looking at September 15th, although, I haven't pieced all these people together and made sure that everyone was available. So I'll see what I can put together.
Priya, did you want to talk about some of the work we've been doing around EDI and leadership training?
Sure, yeah, I could just mention, I think I mentioned this in the last work session, but Karen and I have been working with identifying trainers to work with us on, both just how we, sort of like a follow-ups to some of our initial work that we all did as a commission when we first got on board, and talking a little bit about sort of how we interact as a team and interpersonal communication, but also how we engage with stakeholders, et cetera. And then a separate trainer who's going to be talking more in relation to equity and inclusion aspects of our work and some things that we can keep in mind. And so we just went through, or we're in the middle of almost done with the procurement process now. And so I think we should have everything in order probably within another week or so and start figuring out scheduling. But I think we're aiming for end of August, right, Karen? Is that what we were sort of thinking for the first few sessions?
Yeah, like kicking it off in the end of August.
Yeah, kicking it off. And I think, and there probably will be either one or both trainers may contact us each individually and talk with us a little bit about, what our particular thoughts are of areas that we think, we're doing well or could do better, or questions you might have more on the EDI space. So just wanted to let you all know that is rolling forward, and hopefully we'll have more info to share soon. And I think, Karen, maybe we could share just the basic websites of the two trainers with commissioners probably. I think that would at least be a starting point so you can get a little sense of who these folks are.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I had some info to share from CDPHE, but I didn't want to cut off the rest of the discussion. One thing I wanted to share to folks, and this is kind of just general information sharing, and I'm not really suggesting that this is, a solution that COGCC should consider, but and it's also kind of motivated by some of the public commenters we've heard from this week and last at COGCC hearings. They've been expressing a desire for having more meaningful engagement in COGCC's process, and they perhaps want to have more of a back and forth with commissioners than is typical in the one-way public comment session. And, you know, some of them have also expressed potentially getting the opportunity to ask questions of representatives of industry without really necessarily wanting to apply for party status in the rulemaking through the formal process. But just wanted to share some discussions at the Air Pollution Control Division that are going on that commissioners may want to consider and just follow along on. It's this new concept that the Air Pollution Control Division has proposed adding to for how folks can participate in rulemaking processes. They're proposing to add a new category called flexible party status. And so that would be in addition to what would going forward be called strict party status, or previously just party status. The flexible party status folks, the strict party status people would need to comply with all of the full suite of procedural rules at the Air Commission, you know, filing deadlines, attending pre-hearing conferences and that sort of stuff. Whereas the flexible party status, they, you know, get more interactions with commissioners, they get more interactions with other industry or with other rulemaking parties, but they don't necessarily have to comply with all of the procedural rules as much as the strict party would. For example, they don't have to necessarily attend the status conference or the pre-hearing conference. So I just wanted to flag that for you all as potentially maybe something that could give COGCC public commenters a greater opportunity to get involved. And it seems like potentially, I think it might require a rulemaking if you do want to go down that road. But just to give you a heads up, there is kind of some uncertainty about what the final rules might look like. The Air Commission was slated to vote last week on whether or not to adopt these proposed rules. And they actually went ahead and dismissed the rulemaking, most of the rules that were proposed, in order to give staff and other stakeholders the opportunity to digest recent legislation, specifically the Environmental Justice Act, House Bill 21-1266. So staff will potentially be revising the rules as they exist now in order to account for this new act. But in the meantime, if folks are interested, I'll go ahead and paste in the chats here where you can find that rule language. And if you do have any questions, I'm happy to connect you with the right folks in the Air Division to explain those rules and the process a little bit more.
Thanks, Sean, for giving us the heads up on what was happening and now is not happening and maybe happening again at Air Pollution Control Division.
They will sorry, I was just going to say commissioners did direct staff to definitely no later than December 2022 to pick this rulemaking back up. So I anticipate it will move forward just with potential changes from the new legislation.
Okay. What else? Julie?
Yeah, I wanted to flag one issue for this group, and in that, as a result of staff's presentation on May 5th about orphan well costs, we had a number of stakeholders ask for additional and more detailed information about that data. We've provided that data to those folks as of today, and in the course of preparing those responses, we noted that some costs have changed because they were either not included in the first round or because they have gone from estimates to known costs. And so that's shifted or adjusted some of those estimates, mostly up. Our plan right now is to, as I said, that information's been delivered to the people who asked it, but I think to make sure that all of our stakeholders have the benefit of it, we'll also get the May 5th presentation and also the updated data posted to the financial assurance information page, probably by Monday. So that's just kind of a heads up to you. Those costs have shifted and why they've shifted and why we went back and looked at that data a second time.
Excellent. Thanks for the update, Julie.
Thanks.
I'm not seeing others, which is fine. It is 10:27. We don't have other matters of for discussion. We can all get back to our daily lives, I think. We didn't have a ton of attendees this morning, which is just fine. Thanks, folks, for those who did listen in. Hopefully you gain some nuggets into the work we're doing. And at this point, I think I would adjourn us, and we'll see everybody on Wednesday at 9 a.m. for our regularly scheduled meeting. Have a good weekend.
Everyone have a good weekend.
See you, everybody.